I'd like to start this off with a story that's generating the buzz here provincially as far as politics go, and that's this decision by Christine Fréchette to renew the notwithstanding clause and make this her first item on her agenda now that she's officially become the premier, and doing this a year, renewing it before it even needs to be done. What was your reaction to this?
It's the definition of what we call the political wedge. She's trying to wedge the Liberals and Charles Milliard. We know that in the past, Charles Milliard was on the defensive when he was asked about the use of the withstanding clause. So it's a way for her to wedge the Liberals to see how they're going to vote and to use that in the future upcoming election. So this is, I would say, political maneuvering from the CAQ in terms of putting that forward, because as you rightly mentioned, it doesn't have to happen now. It is still good for another year, but they want to kind of have this vote to have a recorded vote on it to wedge the Liberals, and also a little bit the PQ on it to see exactly where they're going to vote and to use that to say that you're against the French bill.
So here's my point, though, and we were talking about this with David Hertel earlier. Charles Milliard's already come out explaining how he's going to vote and why he's going to vote against this, but you've also got other parties, opposition parties, saying they're probably going to do the same thing. So was this a clever strategy, or is this going to backfire, do you think, on the CAQ?
I don't think it's going to backfire, because right now I think that people are more interested in terms of the cost of oil and obviously the groceries. So I just think that that's something that they want to keep in their back pocket, perhaps during a debate or perhaps when there's going to be an election, try to reuse it, saying that you cannot trust the Liberals when it comes to, for example, defending or protecting French language, or just standing up to the federal government or to the Liberals in Ottawa when it comes to protecting French rights. So it's kind of a narrative that they just want to have a recorded vote and use it perhaps during the election. So yes, Charles Milliard has been clear, but it was difficult for him to say that he was not going to use it. So that's why they want to kind of have a recorded vote on it.
You heard Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, though, say the same thing today, in effect, did you not?
Yes, but Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, because his explanation is that if we were a sovereign nation, we wouldn't need to use the withstanding clause because we would have our own parliament. So it's kind of the same, always the same logic when it comes to Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon. And by the way, it's the same position, for example, on the Constitution, which is something that also Premier Fréchette announced today, that she's going to push forward on a Quebec Constitution. And even the PQ is against it, saying that they don't need a Constitution, they need a country, but also wanted trying to see if, for example, the Liberals are going to vote against, because the truth is, this idea of a constitution comes from the Liberals. Remember, André Pratt was the first one to put that forward. So also the CAQ is trying also to wedge the Liberals when it comes to the Constitution. But the problem right now is that there's still not consultation with First Nation in terms of the Constitution.
But just last point on this, isn't the issue here, and this is what the opposition will say, and I think point that you know what, with everybody concerned with top-of-mind issues like the economy, like prices, and here's the new head of the CAQ doing everything but talking about those issues.
Yes, so that's why. So it's smart politics, but you're 100% right. Right now, Christine Fréchette, the CAQ, we're kind of a hockey game where it's the third period. There's only 5 minutes left, and they're behind. And the top issue is when it comes to the economy, when it comes to groceries. So we are normally expecting other announcements when it comes to tax break. For example, last week, Christine Fréchette did announce tax break for some small and medium-sized businesses. She's supposed to also announce other measures. So I think that her priorities should be in terms of being portrayed as somebody who cares about bread and butter issues, because for the moment, people are still trying to figure out who exactly Christine Fréchette is, and she needs to be seen as somebody who cares about cost of living.
It was mentioned earlier as well, with the idea of moving the Constitution up. It seems to me in the past, Christine Fréchette has said that's not important for her. Suddenly, this is now going to be important. Is this as a way to pay back sort of like Bernard Drinville and that wing of the party?
I think so, yes. She wants to keep the unity in her caucus. She wants to keep both Simon Jolin Barrette, Bernard Drinville, and just the nationalist part of her party happy. But to be honest, I don't think they had enough time. I don't think they have enough consensus. For the moment, they were saying if there's another party that will support it, we'll go forward. Éric Duhaime has put his hand up saying that the Conservative Party of Quebec is supporting. But let's be frank, Éric Duhaime is only one person in terms of he only has one member of the National Assembly. I do believe that you cannot have a constitution without having broad support. And you cannot have a constitution at the last minute like this of the National Assembly. Normally, you do it, way ahead. And at the end of the day, the Constitution is not worth the paper it's going to be written on, right, because it all depends on what's happening in Ottawa.
All right. So I just want to move on to another story here. We talked about this a bunch, the nomination of course, Teddy, the announcement of the new Governor General, Louise Arbour. Just your reaction to that?
No, I think it was a very good announcement, a very good appointment. Look, she's bilingual. She's a former judge in terms of the Supreme Court, but also something that people forget is that she's not only the Governor General, she's also the head of our armed forces. And in the past, she worked on a very important report in terms of sexual harassment in the military. So also, I think it sends a very good signal to the man, but also the woman serving in a uniform, having a Governor General that also knows about the reality of the armed forces when it comes to sexual harassment. So I do believe that it's a very good appointment, and she's bilingual, so I think it's good.
By the way, I will tell you, last time we spoke with David Hertel just after 5 o'clock, David brought up a point I hadn't considered, hadn't heard anyone else mention this, the idea of appointing her because she's such a high-profile person, right? We know what she's done internationally, right? That this is something that even for the talk lately, Rudy, and we've had a lot of it about Canada, more business with the EU, would Canada possibly be interested in that kind of stuff, that she is actually a very smart pick because she's very well known in Europe.
Yes, it's true that in a lot of different venues, for example, she's the one representing Canada abroad. Don't forget that she's technically our head of state and Mark Carney is our head of government. So when there's big international summit or, for example, big gathering, sometimes we do ask the Governor General. So yes, she can have that role. But don't forget, she also has, she needs to be, in terms of what she's saying out in public, needs to be kind of in a reserve. So sometimes you can use her on very specific mission. For example, David Johnston was very good when it comes to education in the past, making sure that there was a lot of educational link between Canada and other countries. We'll see exactly, because at the end of the day, it's all a question of the personality of the Governor General, her interest, and what she wants to do. She has kind of a carte blanche when it comes to what exactly she wants to do. But yes, she can be somebody very useful, for example, to having more links with Europe. We'll see what she decides to do.
Last thing I want to bring up is this Jean Boulet situation. You've seen the video, I am sure, of the guillotining in the mock execution. I think some people laugh this off. I heard today the union responsible for this is standing behind their decision, saying, you know what, it's just theater. Then we heard Jean Boulet himself weighing in on this. What is your take on this?
There's so many things, because first of all, you have to know that those people built it, they transported it. It's not something that was like they needed a lot of planning, first of all, to being able to showcase that execution. So that's number one. How come nobody stopped them on the way, or security or anything? So that was the first element. Second, I think it was a shame that all the unions very, very carefully said, oh, yes, this is an isolated incident. I think they should have condemned it straight off the bat on Sunday. Now I understand that Jean Boulet is going to press some charges. I understand the police is already investigating. I do believe that it's not something that we want to see, and it's not helping for a social dialogue between unions and workers and also business people. So I do believe that it was a bad judgment and that people should pay the price for it.
We leave it at that. Rudy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron.
Take care.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio, hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll.
I'm coming to get you!
One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them.
It's only love, and that's all.
Bryan Adams Radio.
I'm coming back to you.
Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds great.